The foreign chambers of different countries are confident 2013 will be a better year for the economy. In 2010, they launched Arangkada Philippines. It brings together all the foreign chambers of commerce in support of the overall program of the president to institute reforms to ensure the country's economy will be better, manage to attract more foreign direct investments. This movement has been solid in its support for President Aquino. And joining us tonight on the phone is Mr. John Forbes, Senior Advisor of Arangkada Philippines and the American Chamber of Commerce. Good evening, sir.
Good evening. It's nice to be back on People TV.
Yes, sir. Welcome back. Sir, are you bullish on the prospects for sustained economic growth for the Philippines this year?
Well, this year and even the medium term, with good governments and political will, strong leadership from the government, the business sector is certainly ready to invest and see the economy grow.
Sir, what is your fearless forecast? What other factors will contribute to growth this year?
Well, government spending is an important one, including on the elections, so that will contribute. The suspension of infrastructure spending will slow it down a little bit, but that will resume in the second half of the year. There's a lot of construction going on. Construction, that's certainly going to continue. A number of sectors are growing. I would single out BPO and manufacturing and tourism.
Sir, you've mentioned about government spending. Do you see more government spending this year?
Yes, the budget is higher. And if you look at, for example, in public works and national highways, last year and this year, there's more spending spent on improving the roads. We don't see so much here in the capital, but you go out in the provinces, you go down to Mindanao, you see that. Spending on education, spending on health has gone up quite steadily each year.
Sir, how about foreign direct investments? Will there be more investors from abroad? I understand, sir, there are more foreign trade delegations visiting the Philippines, and most of them are Japanese. Do you see this a good sign, especially for manufacturing?
Well, I can't give you the details, but there is interest. The DTI says there were 25 delegations coming in last year. The interest of delegations, you can't assume, is all to invest in the Philippines and create jobs. Sometimes they want to export their products to the Philippines or look at Philippine products they can buy and import into their own countries. Foreign direct investment in the country has been very disappointing for quite a few years. So I'm hoping this year it will go up, but it's still very competitive to attract it in. And I think a lot has to be done by the bureaucracy to make the environment more friendly for investors, to improve infrastructure, which is falling apart in many areas. That's very important. And open access, which may somewhat decrease the cost of power. And to be very careful not to raise the minimum wage, because finally the minimum wage in some of the other countries is catching up with the Philippines. Minimum wage here became the average wage, which it wasn't in the other countries.
So, sir, how else can FDIs bounce back this year?
How can what? Can you repeat?
How else can our foreign direct investments bounce back this year?
Well, it doesn't really have to bounce back. It's just been very low for a long time. It's never been more than $3 billion a year. And you look around Indonesia, got $24 billion last. Thailand and Vietnam both got 8, 10, 12 billion. They're getting much higher. In those countries, they have lower costs of doing business. They have fewer holidays. They have had, for a long time, lower wages, less generous leaves, more flexible labor laws, and lower power prices. So businessmen are very sharp, if they're in manufacturing, about the prices, the costs. They're going to go to where they can manufacture for the least cost and the higher profit because of competition. In the case of BPO, the Philippines is fairly. You need to have the English for that, and the other countries, Vietnam, Indonesia, and Thailand, around the region don't have that.
Right. So how about the reforms initiated by the president? Just some of this as like ensuring ensuring the playing field is on, ensuring a level playing field, especially cutting the red tape or cost of doing business. Has this sent positive feedback to foreign investors? Well,
it's not really a level playing field. It's a nice slogan. I think he was talking about eliminating corruption. But, in procurement, the favoritism for Filipino companies, international companies can compete on a level playing field. Anybody that wants to go in the businesses that are restricted under the Constitution, that's not a level playing field. Red tape is, there's no red tape really. If you want to go to a PEZA zone, you go see Director General De Lima at PEZA, and they're very, very friendly and very, very supportive of investors coming in. And I think the red tape is more of a problem for small local companies.
So, sir, with that, what do you think are the pending bills in Congress, which is, of course, supported by the foreign chambers, which would contribute to help at least growth in the Philippines?
Well, the Congress has done quite a bit in its 2 years so far, more than 2 years. There's still some bills, however, that are in a fairly advanced stage. The land use bill, I think, is very important. If the Senate can finally pass it, that will make more sense out of the way land is used in the Philippines. There's something for rural banks. Rural banks now cannot have any foreign investment, and there's a bill passed by the House that allows 40% foreign investment, and the Senate has a version of 80%. And I see the Senate has said they will take the rural bank bill up. The antitrust bill would also be helpful, but I don't think it's going to pass in this Congress. It has to be taken up in the next Congress. There's a bill in the Senate for the Philippine Design Council, which will strengthen creative industries. Creative industries, well, I'll just give you an example. You might say that Gangnam Style is a creative industry for the Korean economy because it swept the world. Or ABS-CBN is selling their soap operas in Malaysia. So there's tremendous potential for the Philippines in creative industries, and that bill has an appropriation component, and there's a hearing in the House scheduled for early next week, so I think there's a good chance that that can be passed.
So you've mentioned those are selling points. How about tourism here? Let's go back to tourism. It was certainly a boom last year, and projections are it will be sustained or even increased. Sir, as you've mentioned earlier, access and connectivity both are important. What do you think, what else are needed, let's say, in terms of programs to upgrade key airports of major destinations? How much impact will in tourism?
Well, it takes time. And I should mention, since you said connectivity, and the Congress, the removal of a tax on passengers for international carriers has been certified as urgent by Malik and Young, and that should also pass. It just requires a reconciliation of the different versions that the House and Senate have passed. That was what led to the withdrawal of the last European carrier to fly directly to the Philippines, KLM, last year. So that's very positive. On airports, they have to be built. There seem to be a lot of studies and plans and advertisements in the newspaper from the DOTC, but there is no construction. There's a new airport down in Cagayan de Oro, which is waiting to have some equipment. Nobody can understand why it's not already there. There's talk about putting lights in more airports outside of Manila so that the aircraft can fly out of those airports at night or in the early morning or land. So, but it's so far, unless they're actually installed, one keeps on reading about press releases in the papers, but you don't read about they're actually being installed. I think most of the business community regards the pace that DOTC has been moving as much too slow for the challenges it faces.
Sir, just very briefly, we're also talking of infrastructure. How do you see the public and private partnerships going here in the Philippines? How do foreign investors take this for this year?
Well, foreign investors can't participate in all of those because of the restrictions on public utilities, but it's good to have a PPP program. In the last two presidents, it was all talk and no action, and now there is action. It's very slow, though. Unless they get contracts this year, these projects will not be built in this administration. So we're all waiting to see if it works out. There, of course, are foreign funds that like to invest in the equity in these as well, under the 40% restrictions. But what people don't always realize that there's some of these projects that foreign investors can actually invest in up to 100%. But there is an interest in them because of the corruption of the last decade really has hurt the country's reputation. People are uncertain that things have really changed, and it will change permanently. So I think it's mostly going to be local companies participating in the PPP, but I think this year will be the big year for PPP.
All right, sir, on that note, thank you very much for joining us tonight on NewsLife. That was Mr. John Forbes, Senior Advisor of the Arangkada Philippines and the American Chamber of Commerce. Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you. Bye.